Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The state rested its case in the Door County reckless homicide trial. After 4 days of witness testimony, the defense now will make their case to the jury.
The man standing trial, Anthony Gonzalez, is accused of recklessly starting a fire that killed 2 people and destroyed a Sturgeon Bay bar in 2022. Gonzalez is on trial for 7 charges, including 2 counts of second-degree reckless homicide for the deaths of 67-year-old Gary Heisey and 54-year-old Victor Juris. Brittany Smith joins us now in the studio with the last day of the state called witnesses' testimony. Brittany.
Bill and Cammie, today's testimony revolved around 2 state fire investigators tasked with looking for the origin and cause of this fire, as well as the safe recovery of the 2 people killed in the building. Investigators say recovery was a difficult task because the building was so unstable. These aerial photos show the jury what they were dealing with after the fire. It took hours, even days, to recover the bodies with the help of excavators. Once removed, the state fire investigators began looking for an origin of fire. Now, even though Gonzalez is on video telling investigators he accidentally started the fire, investigators still have to independently verify those statements through testimony and evidence. The lead investigator determined the origin of the fire was inside Gonzalez's room, but he classified the cause as undetermined. Here's why.
I concluded that we didn't have enough data. We could not examine the scene. We had other information that was developed later in the investigation that didn't support some of the statements, and because we don't have enough data and there was more questions, I had to call it undetermined.
Again, that doesn't mean that this was incendiary or accidental. It just means you're not classifying it as one or the other.
Right.
The defense called 1 witness to the stand late this afternoon before sending the jury home for the night. They will pick back up tomorrow morning. Cammie, Bill.